The disturbing case of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal. Between 1978 and 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, committed a series of horrific murders that shocked the world. His gruesome acts of violence, cannibalism, and necrophilia left an indelible mark on the history of crime. In today's video, we'll explore Dahmer's early life, the chilling details of his murders, his eventual capture, and the legacy he left behind as one of America's most notorious serial killers. Jeffrey Dahmer was born in 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His early childhood appeared relatively normal, though his parents had a turbulent relationship, eventually leading to divorce. As a child, Dahmer showed an unusual interest in dead animals, collecting their bones and experimenting with them. This dark fascination was one of the early warning signs of the horror that was to come. By high school, Dahmer was isolated, troubled, and increasingly drawn to violent fantasies. He started drinking heavily at a young age and struggled with his sexual identity, which compounded his feelings of alienation. In 1978, at the age of 18, Dahmer committed his first murder. His victim was Stephen Hicks, a hitchhiker whom Dahmer lured to his home under the pretense of sharing drinks. After bludgeoning Hicks with a dumbbell, Dahmer dismembered the body and scattered the remains in his backyard. After this first murder, Dahmer refrained from killing again for nearly a decade, but his dark urges continued to grow. In 1987, Dahmer's killing spree began in earnest. Over the next few years, he would lure men, mostly young and vulnerable, back to his apartment, where he would drug, assault, and ultimately kill them. He developed a ritualistic pattern involving necrophilia, dismemberment, and later, cannibalism. Dahmer's method of operation was disturbingly calculated. He would visit bars or malls, targeting men he found attractive, often offering money for photographs or companionship. Once back at his apartment, he would drug his victims before committing his brutal acts. Inside Dahmer's Milwaukee apartment, the horrors escalated. He kept body parts as trophies, including skulls and organs, and eventually started consuming parts of his victims. He even attempted crude experiments, injecting acid or boiling water into the brains of his victims in hopes of creating a zombie-like state. Dahmer later confessed to consuming parts of several of his victims. He described the act as a way to feel closer to them, stating that eating them gave him a sense of power and control. Dahmer's reign of terror came to an end in 1991 when one of his potential victims, Tracy Edwards, managed to escape. Edwards, after being lured to Dahmer's apartment, realized the danger he was in and fled into the streets, eventually flagging down police. When police entered Dahmer's apartment, they uncovered a nightmare. Photographs of dismembered bodies, human remains in the refrigerator, and preserved skulls exposed Dahmer's horrific acts. The officers immediately arrested him. Dahmer was remarkably cooperative after his arrest, providing a full confession detailing the murders of 17 young men. His level of detail and lack of remorse stunned investigators. At his trial in 1992, Dahmer pleaded guilty, but insane. However, the jury rejected the insanity plea, and he was sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. In 1994, Dahmer was killed in prison by a fellow inmate. His death was seen by some as justice finally served, though it did little to ease the pain of his victims' families. The case of Jeffrey Dahmer has left a deep and disturbing mark on popular culture. Numerous books, documentaries, and films have examined his crimes, often focusing on how a seemingly ordinary man could commit such unimaginable acts. His case raised critical questions about the failures in the justice system, including instances where Dahmer was nearly caught but escaped detection due to police oversight. The gruesome nature of Dahmer's crimes continues to captivate the public's morbid curiosity, but it's also a sobering reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked mental illness and a fractured justice system. Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal, committed unspeakable acts of violence, killing 17 men in a chilling spree that included murder, necrophilia, and cannibalism. His eventual capture and shocking confessions horrified the world. Dahmer's case continues to serve as a dark chapter in criminal history, a story of unchecked violence and lost lives. His legacy is one of fear, tragedy, and unsettling questions about human nature. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories.